throwing weighted footballs and is full speed ahead for 2018. This, of course, after missing all of 2017. Coach, what are fair expectations for Luck in the Colts next season?
Just before you answer, just tell us real quick, when they say weighted footballs, they're not talking about just regular footballs. It's regular size football, size shape. It just weighs more like a medicine ball for basketball.
Yeah, you've probably seen it too with baseball, the weighted baseball. It's just same shape, same everything, just a little bit heavier.
Got it. Okay, yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know where that puts him in terms of his rehab. It's great that he's throwing the weighted footballs. You want to be able to throw footballs and OTAs. If he comes back, I would expect these guys to compete for the playoffs. And he's that much of a changer, a game changer for them. The Colts are in a great situation. They've got salary cap space. They've got a top end of the roster with guys that they can move on from if they want to without having dead money. So there's a lot of flexibility in this roster to improve it. Where they need to address some major problems is on defense. And they bring in Matt Eberflus. He's going to transition to a 43. They were in a significant amount of games last year. I know they only won 4, but there are a bunch that they lost late. With Andrew Luck, with an improved defense, with the resources they have available, to me, I see them competing for the playoffs next year if he's healthy.
And when we look at this division, we know Houston, the injuries they had, we believe they'll be much improved with Deshaun Watson coming back, taking over the quarterback, J.J. Watt returning from a significant injury. But they had 2 teams that made the playoffs out of this division in Jacksonville and Tennessee. So the opportunity is there in that division to get to double-digit wins. I like the fact that he's throwing a weighted ball compared to if they'd have said, oh, Andrew Luck is back in the weight room. That's totally different because they trust that his shoulder structure is sound enough that they would allow him to have the throwing motion and to try to get that joint and those muscles stronger. It's like Markelle Fultz with the 76ers. If he was shooting a weighted basketball right now, I would be more encouraged because that means that the muscles and the structure can handle the extra weight. So he's trying to develop muscle memory. Andrew Luck is doing the same thing. So I think it's more promising that he is throwing a weighted ball now compared to just being in the weight room.
The Fultz thing's really interesting because if you read the reports, what happened to him was he had an injury, tried to practice through the injury.
Of course.
And he, because of the injury, couldn't do his regular shot motion, and now he somehow seemingly can't do it anymore. If I'm reading this correctly, if Luck's shoulder, if there was any concern that it was still damaged to the point to where he couldn't have his regular throwing motion, they wouldn't want him to throw at all.
Right.
Because it could throw off the muscle memory, it could throw off the way he typically throws.
And it lets you know where the rehab stage, it's advanced enough that he's moved out of doing the small little things, grabbing things, push and pull stuff, that now he's actually working on the throwing motion and being repetitive with that motion. To me, that means that's a lot more promising diagnosis and an update on Andrew Luck than we've had in a long time.
I'd like to get an update on the medical staff and on the training staff and the people that made the decisions last year to the fact that he missed an entire season. It's the same situation as Miami. When you've got Ryan Tannehill and you decide not to do a surgery and then he goes out and you think he's going to be able to get through the season, he gets hurt in the preseason. There's a lot of points or parts of an organization that you have to evaluate. So have they made changes to the medical staff? Is it the same group that's giving them the feedback on Andrew now that was a year ago? Because it's hard to say with any kind of certainty that this is definitely moving in the right direction. We're hopeful, but...
With a quarterback coming off an injury and a guy in Andrew Luck who, after the first 3 years where he played all 48 games in those 3 years, he only played 7 in year 4. He missed a game but was injured throughout year 5, and then obviously missed all of year 6. I think most people would say, okay, we have the number 3 overall pick. Who is the best offensive lineman? What's the best thing we can do to protect him? The other school of thought would be Andrew Luck's never had a dynamic running back, never had a truly game changer in the backfield. No disrespect to Frank Gore, who's had an amazing career. As you, team building wise, would you focus more on up front, or would you focus more on trying to help Andrew Luck out by giving him a guy where he can hand the ball off to if a guy such as Saquon Barkley were available?
I think if you have a solid running game, that helps a lot. But one of the things that Andrew Luck has to do is protect Andrew Luck. And you saw it with Peyton Manning. You see it with Tom Brady. Tom Brady will take some hits, but they're calculated risks. They're hits that he's taking to throw the ball 60, 70 yards on the field. there were times with Andrew Luck in watching him where he'd take hits to get a 5- and 6-yard completion, and it's just not good business. He's obviously smart enough to assess risk reward, and I love his toughness. I respect that aspect of it, but he's got to do a good job of protecting himself and know when to take chances, know when not to take chances.
Yeah, I was a Pro Bowl captain 3 seasons ago, and Andrew Luck was one of the first draft picks that we had. A brilliant passer of the football. Great to be around, a great leader. But you mentioned it. He's got to get better. He's got to get better at taking care of the ball. And that front office, forget the running game. They have to be able to protect Andrew Luck so that he can protect himself. Now, he is a great athlete, but he has realized, man, he can't even take the type of pounding that he has kind of subjected his body to. So I look for Andrew Luck to get back. Like, let's not forget who he is. He is a brilliant passer. He's very, very smart. The X's and O's, that part of the game. He is a very good teammate. They need to put the other things around him that I believe will make them a championship caliber organization. I believe that's up to Frank Wright to be able to change this organization. Get me some big people on defense. They're going to a 43 defense, so they need new personnel for that. And offensively, get some people in front of him, a lot like Philadelphia with that dominant offensive line that they had.
And what's nice about Frank Wright going there, and I know, obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about the different system with him versus Josh McDaniels, but this is a system that Andrew ran in college. He ran the West Coast system at Stanford, so he's got that familiarity. And we saw what they were able to do with Nick Foles, where they could get the ball out of his hands quickly. So as much as you want to improve the offensive line, which they need to address in the running game, and those things will help, and Andrew's decision-making, as a coordinator, as a head coach, you can also help him by giving him those quick reads, by forcing him to get the ball out quickly to limit the amount of times he can get hit.
And as far as the Colts aspect of this, Chris, you alluded to it. The AFC South for a long time was a punchline in this league. Like, it was you rank the divisions, we know which division we're saying is last. It's the AFC South every year. They had not just two playoff teams. 2 of the last 8 teams standing in the NFL this year were in the AFC South. And that is with the team that a lot of people think is the most talented in the AFC South, Houston, not being a part of it. Tennessee did what they did with Marcus Mariota taking a step back when a lot of people believe in Mariota, think he's going to be even better. So that division all of a sudden could be sneaky competitive and could be a tough one even with a healthy Andrew Luck, which is all the more reason why the Colts have any chance to compete, need, for the first time in a few years, a healthy Andrew Luck.
It will be interesting to watch. Coach, thanks for being here.
Good to see you, brother.
Again.
Thank you so much. You know what? I don't know how you were raised. I was told.
Coming up, how much pressure is on Lonzo Ball in his return from injury? That's next. First things first.
Fire in the gap. All right, so can I be the challenge guy, the challenge and clock management guy?